Okay, so this is video F-4. We're going to find G prime of X. So I'm going to do four of the even problems from the practice for this, and then you'll do the odds. So this is number 2. So G of X is equal to f of X squared plus 5f of X minus 7. All right, so to get G prime of X, I'm going to have to take the derivative of all three of these terms. So 1, 2, I got 3 terms. For this first one, guys, whenever you are finding the derivative, these are the rules that we've learned. All right, there's power, product, quotient, chain. And these are the these are the clues you want to look for, for which you're going to use. So power, if it is of the form ax to the n or a blank to the n. I'll go a blank to the n. All right, also. Okay, product, quotient, chain. But we're going to be using chain here because there is an inside function and an outside function. So for this one, so inside, outside. The inside function here is f of x. The outside is blank to the second. You don't have to show this chart. All right, so the derivative of the inside is f prime of x. The derivative of the outside is 2 blank to the first. And then f of x goes back in. So the derivative of this term is 2 I don't know, f prime of x, f of x. All right, so that's the derivative of this first term. Plus, the 5 is just a coefficient. All right, so we don't use product rule here. All right, product rule is when you have f of x times g of x, but if the first function is just a constant function like 5, then you don't use the product rule. The product rule would work, but it would give you an answer that just looks unsimplified. So in this case, this is just a coefficient. It's a constant multiple. You just bring it down. So the 5 comes down. The derivative of f of x is f prime of x. The derivative of 7 is 0, because that's a constant. All right, that is number 2. Now I'm going to do number 6. All right, so g of x is this. So here I've got 2 terms that I need to take the derivative of. So g prime of x equals. For the derivative of this term, I'm going to need chain rule, because there's an inside function and an outside function. So inside, outside. 10 blank to the 9th. And then f of x goes back in. So the derivative of this first term is 10 f prime of x. And then f of x to the 9th. The derivative of 12 is just 0. Okay. Now, number 10. So, this is just a single term. It's a single term, and it involves inverse sine. So we're going to be taking the derivative of inverse sine. So we're going to need to know the inverse sine formula. Now, inside of this inverse sine, its input is not just an x, its input is f of x. So we really, I know I have g here as the inside function and f as the outside function, but nevertheless, there's one function that is inside, that is the input of the outside function. So this is a chain rule situation. So input, output. So the inside is f of x. The outside is 6 inverse sine of blank. Derivative of the inside, f prime of x, times the derivative of the outside. This 6 is a coefficient. It is a constant multiple. It's just a constant that's being multiplied. Constant multiples or coefficients come down. So that just comes down. And then the derivative of inverse sine, we just have to have this memorized at some point. It's 1 over radical 1 minus blank squared. Guys, I have to look these up every year, just to be sure. So, these are the types of formulas, like you'll memorize them temporarily, they'll fall out of your brain, you memorize them again when you know that you're going to be needing them. So it's okay. It's okay if you don't always remember them. And then the f of x goes back in. Okay, so here we get that g prime of x equals, I'll just multiply straight across, so I'll end up getting 6 f prime of x over 1 minus f of x squared. Alrighty, and we've got this one more. Okay, so here we've got -7 raised to the f of x. Now guys, it's important to notice this negative is not part of the base, okay? That negative is not part of the base. If it were, there would be parentheses around the -7. So that negative is not part of the base. It's a coefficient or a constant multiple. So once again, we need chain rule for this. The inside function is f of x. Because this is an exponential function, 7 to the something. Yeah, so that's where the input goes, is in the exponent. And then the outside is -7 to the blank. Okay, inside derivative, f prime of x. Outside derivative, this negative comes down, all right? The negative just comes down. And then you need the derivative of, so ignore the negative now, because it already came down. We're ignoring the negative. We need the derivative of 7 to the blank. This is a formula. So the derivative of 7 to the blank is 7 to the blank, you're ignoring the negative, because it's not part of the base, times the natural log of 7, all right? A big mistake is a lot of people might say times the natural log of -7, but no, it's the natural log of the base, and the negative is not part of the base, right? And then what goes back in here is f of x. Okay, so we get that g prime of x equals, sometimes, I don't know, sometimes I put the natural log in the front, sometimes I don't know. I guess I'll put it in the front because it's technically a coefficient because it's a number. F prime of x, 7 to the f of x. Okay, guys, so you're just going to do the odds.